Good morning. My name is Mitch Lucas. I'm the Assistant Sheriff at Charleston County Sheriff's Office. We're here to talk about the instance from last night, how this is going to, that we're going to run the news conference. I'm going to introduce Bill Tunick in a minute to talk about a Charleston County employee situation. Then I'll come back and talk about the actual situation last night, and then the coroner will come in and talk about the folks who died last night. So, Bill.
Thank you, Chief Lucas. My name is Bill Tunick. I'm the Director of Radio and Telecommunications for Charleston County. And to my left is Letty Clay. To my right is Martin Kratz. Last night we lost a extremely valuable member of our team, Larry Britton, at 3:30 a.m. He died of heart complications at MUSC Hospital. He was responding to the incident last night, helping the Sheriff's Office and the Joint Command manage communications at the scene, and he had to be taken by EMS to the hospital. I want to say a few words about Larry. First of all, I've never met a more dedicated person, more dedicated employee. This man was born to serve, and he did throughout his life. He leaves one son, Larry Jr., 2 grandchildren, and his wife, Marcia. He's been with the county, working for me for 8 years, and as the radio communications manager for Charleston County, which manages all 911 radio communications. Extraordinarily dedicated employee. He would be the first to respond to any scene, any help that was needed. Larry, it didn't matter what time of day, if he was on vacation, if it was the middle of the night, Larry would be there, and he was extremely well respected and valuable. Larry also was a volunteer with the Charleston County Volunteer Rescue Squad for 20 years and a senior member of that squad. He was a member of the Disaster Medical Assistance Team, which is a federal government rapid deployment force. He was also a South Carolina State Constable for over 10 years and served dutifully most recently at Folly Beach on weekends. And Larry also served in the fire community directly, where he was the fire chief for Olive Palms before and after Hurricane Hugo, and he served very bravely in all these roles. I will say many prayers for Larry and his family, and he's at the right hand of the Lord right now. Thank you.
I know that some of you have most of the information from last night, but I'm going to go from what we know from the beginning to this point. There's a number of different agencies that are involved with this. Last night in the apartment complex, we have 2 deputy sheriffs that live there and are courtesy officers, which means they provide security, basic security and welfare checks and things like that for the apartment complex. They got a report that there was someone who was apparently intoxicated, beating on doors, cars, causing a disturbance. They knew, they identified the person, called for some on-duty deputy sheriff to come over in case an arrest was needed. 3 officers responded. One of the officers was a trainee. Just got out of the academy and is going through field training. They went to the apartment, knocked on the door. As I understand it, this is the information we have now. SLED investigation will clear all of this up. The party inside asked who it was. When they identified themselves as the sheriff's office, the party inside started firing through the door, striking 2 of the officers. We thought just one officer last night, at least one, maybe more of the remaining officers returned fire and rescued the 2 officers who'd been hit. Called an officer down, and a lot of police resources went that way. They were able to quickly secure a perimeter with the help of North Charleston, Mount Pleasant Highway Patrol. city of Charleston. When I got there about an hour after it happened, the decision was made that in talking to the sheriff, and by the way, the sheriff is on his way back right now. He left Saturday to go to Israel on I believe it's a terrorism group that he is a part of, and was not due back until next Sunday. He'll be flying in tonight. We were on the phone with him throughout this situation up until the time pretty much that he got on the plane. We decided that since it was in the city and we had the city SWAT team responding, we also had North Charleston and our SWAT team respond as well, and sleds. We decided that since we were involved in the shooting, that the city police would handle the SWAT entry portion of it. And the North Charleston SWAT team relieved everyone on the perimeter. We had a lot of people out there laying in some very uncomfortable positions. As you know, it rained pretty hard while this was going on. Some of those folks were out there for 4 or 5 hours. But they relieved all of the deputy sheriff, city police officers in North Charleston that were on the perimeter. North Charleston SWAT team did. And then we evacuated a small number of apartments, or I'm sorry, the Charleston City Police evacuated a small number of apartments in the immediate area. And then we sent out a reverse 911 to as many people that we could. Of course, cell phones makes it a little more difficult now than it used to be, to advise them to stay in their apartments, keep the doors locked, and stay inside unless a police officer came to ask them to leave. Very cautiously, the city SWAT team approached the apartment, made an entry point to where they could see what was going on, threw in a robot that had a camera on it. They found that the person inside was not responding, and the coroner will talk about that. This case was full of unknowns for those SWAT team members and police officers that responded. The only thing we knew for sure there was someone on the other side of the door that had a gun that would shoot through the door at police officers. We had no idea how many or what their motivation was. So we were out there a long time, and I can tell you I'm very, very proud of how all of the officers handled the situation, especially the SWAT teams and especially the Charleston City SWAT team. They handled it in a way that did not endanger any more people than absolutely necessary. And fortunately, no one else was hurt beyond the first 2 officers and the victim inside, as the coroner will tell you about. At the 2 officers, and I'm going to name them, the coroner has allowed me to do this honor. The officer that was shot and injured, but not fatally, is Michael Ackerman. He's 43 years old. He's been with the sheriff's office since 2010. He had previously served with the Mount Pleasant Police Department and 2 Arizona police departments. He'd been a police officer since 2004. He was also a field training instructor and an excellent negotiator. A situation in Charleston County a few weeks ago, he was the lead negotiator that brought another SWAT operation to a successful conclusion without anyone getting seriously hurt. The officer who was killed last night is Joseph Matuskovic. He was hired by the sheriff's office in 2011. He had previously served with the Charleston Police Department from 1997 to 2011. Both these officers have family that are local. They both have children. We're not going to provide the names of the other officers that were involved until after SLED does the investigation. And that's where we're at this point. All the local police departments have pulled out of the investigation, and everything now is turned over to SLED. They had 2 crime scene units come down last night, went to the hospital, went to the scene, and then their investigators, and that's what they're still doing this morning. So, and with that, and I'll come back up to answer any questions in a minute, but I'd like to allow the coroner to come up and give her details.
First, I would like to echo the sentiments that have been expressed earlier about the loss of Larry Britton. He was truly an asset to the county and will be badly missed. And as already mentioned, he was very involved in serving the county in a very capable capacity at the time that he became ill and was subsequently transported and died. Next, I would again echo the sentiments of Chief Lucas. I think there's no need for me to rehash the details of the events of yesterday. I do know that we lost a very brave man, a very dedicated man. We had a number of deputies who responded there in an effort to do the duty they're elected to do and to keep the community safe and so forth. So I echo that, those sentiments as well. The incident occurred, started a little bit earlier, but the death for the deputy happened at approximately 8:37. He was pronounced at the Medical University Hospital after he was transported there by EMS. The other individual who died was the individual who resided in the apartment and who the deputies encountered in their responding to the request for assistance. His name was Michael Oswald, O-S-W-A-L-D. He was 38 years of age, and he resided there alone. He did die at the scene in the evening, and because of the circumstances you've heard described, the exact time of that is not determined as of yet and may or may not be. As mentioned already by Chief Lucas, SLED is the investigating agency, which is what is appropriate in circumstances such as this. And they've been on the scene all night. I just left them probably about 9:30 or 10 o'clock this morning myself and actually left them there continuing their investigation. In speaking with them about what was appropriate to say this early in the investigation, it was discussed that it's probably most appropriate that we limit our comments to the fact that both of these individuals died as a result of gunshot wounds, and there is a lot of investigation to follow. There really aren't many more details I can share with you at this time. I do think we all recognize the tragedy of all these losses, and our hearts, I think, should go out to all those survivors. And I would particularly send my condolences to not only the deputy's family, but also the individual who resides in the apartment who also has a family suffering loss and a lot of other emotions. Are there any questions you have for me before I return this to Chief Lucas?
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. Were two officers wounded?
Two individuals were wounded, one fatally and one was injured but is expected to recover.
Well, we had a Michael Ackerman and a Joseph Matuskovic.
Those were deputies.
Were they both injured?
One was injured fatally and the other was injured but is expected to recover.
Right, forgive me, you didn't say if you know if the suspect shot himself or was wounded.
We are not at a point in the investigation even to begin to discuss that.
I apologize. Who then is Larry Britton?
Larry Britton is the Charleston County employee who we lost last night while he was supporting this very large effort in this incident we're talking about. He actually was a Charleston County employee who worked with the radio shop, and he was actually at the Public Works headquarters when he took ill and was subsequently transported by EMS to the hospital and died.
Oh, so he wasn't at the scene.
He was not at the scene of the incident. However, he too passed away last night.
Could you give us the spellings of these
Larry Britton is Britton. He's 58 years of age. And everything at this time indicates that his death is natural. The deputy's name is spelled, first name is Joe, and I'm going to spell the last name. And I ask that you take great care to try to get this correct. It's M as in Mary, Atuskovic. And he was 43 years old. And again, he was pronounced at MUSC at 8:37 last night after being transported from the scene.
And Ackerman, the wounded officer, usual spelling is.
It's Ackerman, I believe it is. I actually don't have any information about him. And then the individual residing in the apartment that was involved in the incident, his name is Michael, Michael, Oswald, Oswald, and he was 38 years of age, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. Yes. The time that I have recorded at the hospital, which of course is what we go by, is 03:05 this morning, 3:05 this morning. At this time, that would not be something we could share.
And Mr. Britton, when the call came in, he suffered an attack or something?
He was busy in a support role, trying to support all the operations that were going on at the incident location. There was lots of communication needs, you know, phones and computers and faxes and printers, and he was very busy in that support role at the headquarters.
And the cause of death is that been determined
For Mr. Britton. I don't actually have that completed yet. It's very early in the day, but everything indicates that it appears he suffered some natural events and died as a result of natural causes.
his age? I'm sorry.
His age is 58. Okay, thank you.
There was not too much visibility as far as the scene goes last night. And hearing about what we were trying to explain about Larry, we had well over 100 officers down there last night from a variety of agencies. And a lot of the reason those officers respond is that we don't know how long the people are going to be on the post, on the perimeters, in an active role in the investigation or the containment, which is the main focus when we first get there, is containing the situation. But we also had 3 command posts, a number of other support vehicles. There was a tremendous, it was almost like a theater of war, I suppose, it would be the best way of describing it, with all of the equipment that was down there and everything that was going on. But it was a massive operation, and people like Larry Britton were crucial to us having success in getting the situation to an end. And I guess the easiest thing to do now is just answer any questions that I can. So, anybody have any? Go ahead.
It was a long night, as I understand, it didn't until about 4 a.m. What all were you doing at that time? Were you trying to communicate with the person inside the apartment, or what was happening?
The one thing that happened throughout is to try to keep the apartment complex as safe as possible with the perimeters that we set up and trying to make sure everyone stayed inside their houses. The rest of the time was getting the appropriate equipment and resources there, the properly trained officers for SWAT, negotiators, trying to get background information on the person inside the apartment or persons. We didn't know how many people were in there. And then there is nothing it's very rare that a SWAT team does anything in a quick or rash moment. Everything they do is very calculated, methodical, and it takes a long time. So usually at these scenes, this scene played out exactly the way it was supposed to, with the SWAT teams performing their duties the way they were supposed to, with great caution. The worst thing that could have happened is we don't know that the person is non-responsive inside. He comes out, starts shooting outside the apartment. Now we've got bullets flying all over the apartment complex. So the vast majority of time was containing the situation and then moving the appropriate resources into place.
Is there a history of issues?
I'm sorry, you're going to have to speak up for me. I'm a little hard of
Is there
hearing.
a history of issues with this suspect or at this apartment complex?
Were there issues at the apartment complex with the suspect?
Past, in the past?
I don't know. I believe that there is one arrest recorded at the Sheriff Al Cannon Detention Center, but I'm not sure. You can check the website for that. But as far as this is any history of problems in the apartment complex, I don't have that information.
Do you know if there was any other contact with this gentleman after they said, we're the police, and he shot out? Is there any?
Know of no other communication between him and anyone, but he had a cell phone in there, and he could have been talking to someone we don't know at this point. Good, Harv.
Is there any indication how many shots were fired total?
We don't know yet. We don't even know how many officers fired definitively. That sled will nail all that stuff down. Go ahead. I don't know. I don't have any information on the weapon that the suspect used.
The deputies were not wearing Kevlar, correct? No body armor?
They were wearing body armor.
All five wearing body armor?
The two courtesy officers, I don't believe were, but that was the reason that they didn't go to the door.
Was it the trainee who actually returned fire? You know for sure at this point, that was one person who returned fire?
We know that one of the courtesy officers returned fire, but there may have been others, and I only know that from our conversations with him. Like I say, these type of things is exactly why SLED comes in to investigate these things.
Do you know the condition of Mr. Ackerman or Officer Ackerman?
Do I know the condition? He's in surgery today. I don't know. I believe the wounds are on the leg, right?
Yes, sir.
The wounds to Deputy Sheriff Ackerman are in one leg, if I'm not mistaken.
And is it fair to say that they're not life-threatening?
I don't think that's fair at all.
Okay.
So the courtesy officer did not approach the door, but came in after he heard the shots fired. Is that correct?
They were, all five officers, the two deputies we named, the trainee, and the courtesy officers were in the area of the door. Now, how they were up there, I don't know, but at least one of them was in a position to return fire.
Is this on the first floor, second floor?
Second floor,
Just to clarify, the two deputies who were shot, were they wearing body armor?
they were.
How did you determine how many apartments to evacuate as opposed to the whole building?
Well, we had good information on the structure of the building, and the city police examined where the apartment was and determined which, of course, the one immediately adjacent, they evacuated. I'm sure that anything that would have been in the line of fire or could have possibly been hit by a bullet going through a wall were evacuated.
The officer who died, where was he shot?
Where was he found?
Where was he shot on his body?
I'm not sure that I know the precise injury, so I'd rather not comment on that. I don't know where on the leg that Deputy Sheriff Ackerman was hit either. I just know that he was shot in the leg.
Did they each only have one gunshot that they were hit by?
I don't know.
Were they right outside the door?
If you shot through the door and it hit them, they were right outside the door.
And I assume there was a balcony or something there, so they were right when they're going in.
Yes, sir.
I saw two what appeared to be bullet holes in the
I'm sorry?
I noticed too what appeared to be bullet holes in the door across the courtyard from the scene. Was that, I mean, an indication of kind of weapon that the suspect was using?
I don't know. I don't know that they are bullet holes, and I don't know that that they happened last night. Hopefully SLED will nail down where every round that was fired went.
Do you have any information on the services or anything for the?
Not yet.
Was there any degree of contact beforehand between the officers? They just went up to this door and knocked on it? Was there any contact between them and the suspect?
I don't know. I haven't been told if there was, so I don't know.
Did the trainee help get them out of the way? You could just
Absolutely. The officers who were not injured all participated in recovering the wounded officers.
at risk of getting shot again?
Absolutely.
Was Ackerman able to move himself out of the line of fire on his own accord, or was he helped out with
I don't know, but if he is going into surgery for gunshot wounds to the leg, I would seriously doubt that he was able to move himself without assistance. Guys, I know that everyone will be clamoring for information on this, and this is a significant event, and I understand that. I would caution, and I'm not talking down to anyone here, but nearly every report I read when I got back home this morning about 5 o'clock said that Sheriff Ackerman had confirmed that we had an officer that died. Sheriff Cannon didn't confirm anything. That came off social media. Please consider the fact that these folks have families. There's going to be a lot of misinformation. I can tell you that my time and all these other officers that were out there last night, their time on the scene throughout the night, things changed. Information changed. More information came in. We found out that some information was incorrect. That's why we were, and I think we've been extremely transparent here, and we will continue to do that. But we've got a public information officer that cannot comment on the SLED investigation, but anything to do with these officers, please clear it through Major Watson. Give us the opportunity to make sure that you've got the right information before it goes out.
Jen, the deceased man, his family again?
The deceased man?
Yeah,
We have 2 deceased men.
right, the officer. Do you have children or both?
Both of the officers have children.
You know how many or anything?
I don't know how many. I don't think, I think both of them have fairly young children.
Are you able to say anything else about Matuskovic, about what he did, the sheriff's office, or?
I'm sorry?
Are you able to comment any more just on, Officer Matuskovic, just on what he did at the sheriff's office?
He has been a field training instructor himself, which is, for those of you who are not real familiar with police work, we like to think that we choose the very best officers to be field training officers. It's their job to take a raw cadet out of the academy and teach them the basics of how to do this job. And so I think that both of these officers, I think we can say with a great deal of certainty they were fine officers and they did a very, very good job for us.
Was the trainee riding with anyone in particular?
He was riding with Ackerman.
Do you know when the last time was that you had a deputy die in line of duty?
A deputy fired on?
Die after it?
I can't remember. Does any of y'all?
Two helicopter pilots.
And that was how many years ago?
93.
But I think that because it's important to note that to isolate a police fatality or law enforcement fatality strictly to the sheriff's office in this region would not be the right way to look at this. We've had other police officers that have been killed in the Tri-County area. And if you had seen the number of uniforms that were down there last night, you would understand just how much this affects every one of us. And somebody asked me last night about how were the other officers coping with this? Well, you know, and I don't want to make this cliche, but these guys came to work last night. They got dressed. They put soft body armor on, and most police officers do. Most law enforcement officers do. And so I think that's a constant reminder of what kind of danger we face. And for those of us who weren't involved last night, I can and the families that watched them put those vests on every night. And if that doesn't do it, when we put these black badges on this badge this morning, reminding all of us. Thank you.